Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this episode of Tech Talk. I'm Omar Shear, I'm your host, and last week we had a very special guest, and that same very special guest is with us this week. His name is Mr. Fardan. He's an educational technologist and also the CEO of Smart Collaborative. This week we want to talk about educational technology. We discussed this a bit before with our brother, Dr. Muhammad Khalifa, but excuse me, this week we want to go into some of the technological tools being used in schools and are they effective. It's kind of, maybe it can be a debatable issue. And I have some experience as well in this, but Mr. Fard, of course, he's an expert in this subject. So we'll be asking him questions about it, and we'll see what his position is about it, and maybe it directly affects you if you have children in the schools today, because we're using smart boards and computers and tablets and every other kind of thing. So I'd like to welcome you to the show today,
Thank you.
Mr. Fard. Excuse me. So, first of all, let's talk about this title, educational technologist.
Yes.
What exactly does an educational technologist do?
Well, we find this title has several positions. An educational technologist could be a coach, a person that you find around a group of teachers, and this person is actually helping teachers use technology inside classrooms.
Okay.
This person could also be a coordinator,
Okay.
Coordinating the efforts of technology in an educational institution. This person could be a district technology coordinator in a district, basically in charge of the flow of technology through the educational system, including training the technology coordinators in the schools in the district.
So tell us about what you do in particular. What do you do in this capacity as an educational technologist?
In this capacity, I do two things. One is I help teachers understand the reason why we're using technology inside the classroom. Trying to get them to use technology as a tool in a seamless way.
Mm. I mean, have you, it's obvious to me, I've been in some of the schools in Egypt, and it seems to me that many schools are adopting this technology more like a fad or a trend. And it's being used as a replacement of some other way of doing things. Okay. that when technically it should, I think if you purchase a 10,000 pound or $2,000 board, that it should do more than the old board used to do.
Yes.
You know, so I mean, what's your opinion about that? I mean, particularly in the schools.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think if we look at how teaching was done in the past and what teaching looks like today, teaching for teachers at one time, we call it teacher-centric. That all of the teaching centered around the teacher. Things have shifted. Now it is more student-centric. So we have technology tools. I believe that the reason why schools are rushing to get technology is because maybe they are aware of where the digital natives are, our children. People like me, I was part of the baby boomers 1,000 years ago. And then the people that came after me, people like you,
Okay.
we consider you guys the internet generation. The internet generation is finished, but now we have the mobile generation. The mobile babies are totally different. They have created a space for themselves. And to reach them, you have to be able to engage them. I believe that educators discovered this. They realized this, that we cannot teach these children unless we can engage them, because these children have their own technology tools. And this mobile device is considered a tool of technology. So they went out and they got smart boards, they got data shows, and they installed IP cameras in classrooms. So the tools are there. What's missing is the knowledge of how to use those tools as a teaching tool, teaching and learning tool. I think it's a good idea, but I think we all have a long way to go in terms of being able to use those tools comfortably.
So I mean, with the teachers, I mean, is it that the that a school would hire a teacher, for example, and the teacher may be used to a certain way of teaching, using a traditional way, maybe whiteboard or something like this. Then all of a sudden they put a data show and a smart board in the room and just put them in there and have them figure it out themselves. Or?
Really, the dynamics of it is large. There are a lot of reasons why it's not working. It can work, but there are a lot of reasons why it's not working. It's more than just switching from a whiteboard to a smart board. Teachers feel that this whole thing about technology, so to speak, is extra work. So you have to separate. We have to get them away from that. That is extra work. But it starts with a good infrastructure. That's where it starts at. You know, schools have to make sure they have in place a very good infrastructure that can bear this technology that we're trying to use. Okay, we say that if the teachers can't use the technologies in the classroom, then it's no good. You might as well take it out. Okay.
So, so the transition, for example, from the chalkboard, when I was growing up, we had chalk, and from going from that to the whiteboard, which uses a dry erase marker, it would seem that that move wasn't really about technology and for the students' benefit. More or less, may have been the chalk is dusty. This is a cleaner way to do it.
Okay.
But when you think about, and I keep using the smart board as an example, but it's more than just a smart board. But
Yes.
But I'm using it as an example to say, okay, now with a smart board, it's so much more than just a blackboard to whiteboard. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, it is. It is. What's on teachers today is understanding how to deconstruct the curriculum and match those curriculums to multimedia components. The idea is that if you have a smart board, children really shouldn't be noticing the smart board. What they should notice is the experience that you're giving them. See? And this is what when we talk about seamless, teaching using technology, but making the technology seamless, making the technology where it's really not cumbersome. You know, it's not visible to the child. The learning is visible, though.
So, moving on to another technology, let's talk a bit about mobile devices, or even classmate PCs or something like this. I don't know if our audience is familiar with these technologies, but I'm sure that in the future it will play a big role, because, for example, if my books are on a tablet or on on a small laptop or something like this, it cuts down on the cost of books, for example.
Yes, of course. Mm-hmm.
And of course, it cuts somebody else out business-wise. You know, the publishers can lose money. But the point is that maybe they'll carry their entire book collection for school on one device. So,
Well,
where is that going?
I think we're trying it as we speak. The idea, the concept of the paperless school is being tried. There is resistance on the part of parents, of course. There's resistance on the part of teachers.
What are some of the objections to this?
Well, I think parents are looking at the paperless concept as it takes away from some practical skills that children would normally encounter. One they always point out is the ability to develop penmanship, writing.
Okay, right.
Nobody's teaching penmanship. Children are not writing like they were when they were in school.
I mean, is this valid? A valid argument?
It's a valid argument, and to that argument I tell parents, well, technology has developed to a point where children are still able to write, but now they're writing with pens on touchscreens.
Okay.
So in terms of developing the penmanship, I think that children still should use paper and pencil to develop penmanship.
Right.
But I think we should engage them in this technology, in this paperless idea, because it's a good idea. It's an idea that, irregardless to who resists it and how long they resist, it will come.
But what about typing? Because now, even in university setting, you can't pass in essay, handwritten essay. Generally speaking, like in most universities, you have to pass in something that's typed.
Yes.
So, not to say you don't teach children how to write, but shouldn't there be more of a focus on teaching them? I mean, not more of a focus, but there should be a focus on typing and typing quickly. And I mean, what do you think about that?
I think keyboarding skills is a primary skill that should be taught from, I would start at KG if I had my choice, but at least from starting from primary 1 to primary 6, children should be introduced to keyboarding. Things like typing tutors, all the typing tutors, they should definitely learn keyboarding.
Right.
It is a valuable skill that they will always use.
Right. Okay, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a short break, inshallah, and after the break, we'll continue our conversation with Mr. Fard Fardan on educational technology. I hope you're enjoying the show, inshallah. I'll see you after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to Tech Talk. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Fard Fardan, and we're talking about educational technology. We left off at the last segment talking about developing handwriting skills or typing with children, and not to say which is more important, because I'm in no position to say, but definitely we know that we have come to a stage now in time where typing is extremely important. If you can't type, you have a difficult time trying to write and go do anything in education or even work for that matter. So back to Mr. Fard. So this issue of keyboarding and typing, it kind of eliminates, in a way, the issue of the focus on penmanship. Is that right, or?
Well, yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's one thing that many parents find that children are losing is the ability to write.
Should they really be scared about this? Or?
They should be concerned, not scared, but they should be concerned. And it's a dual responsibility. I think parents should encourage their children to write at home. Schools should and still do encourage children to write in school. But we need to keep in mind that technology in schools, from the way it looked, is here to stay. We have some kinks, you know, and I think one of the biggest thing I find from just observing classrooms and teachers is teachers feel that students know more than them.
Oh.
And of course, these are digital natives. They do know more. There's no question about it. Okay, they don't have the skill set that teachers have and able to take those tools and enable students to learn. Okay, so teachers need to, or I should say teachers, but principals, owners need to focus on professional development for teachers. You know, get teachers where they need to be, feeling comfortable using technology, help teachers understand how to deconstruct their curriculums to be able to teach with technology, and definitely get them the right support for technology inside the classrooms. Because there's nothing worse than a teacher teaching a class and something goes wrong and there goes the lesson.
I don't want to assume that our viewers know all the types of technology being used in education. So could you give us like a brief overview of some of the main technologies that you've encountered?
I think the main ones, of course, is smartboard technology,
okay,
which uses the notebook software and interactive software. And these boards, like Prometheum and Smartboard, these are interactive boards. And they use software that allows the participants to interact with them.
Okay.
You drag, drop.
So it's like hands-on, huh?
It's hands-on. It's very, very basic, not very difficult to learn whatsoever.
What other technologies are there?
Well, besides the Smartboard and Prometheum boards, I can't consider a data show. A data show is in the mix. It is something that you must have in order to use a smartboard.
Right.
So we don't consider it a separate technology.
Right.
One-to-one technology seemingly is becoming usable in schools.
Okay.
And one-to-one technology is something that was introduced by Intel. Intel came out with the Classmate PC for learning purposes, for students.
Right.
They started out with the first generation. They developed a second, a third, a fourth, and now basically they have a fifth generation Classmate PC. And what this does is this allows teachers to create an intranet inside the classroom. Intranet meaning that this flow of information doesn't leave this room. It's enclosed.
Right.
And then it gives them the ability to manage the class with classroom management software, where a teacher may have something like 20 or 30 students, and each one of those students will have a PC.
Right.
And this is based on the concept of one-to-one e-learning. They will all have a PC, and the teacher will have a normal notebook, as we say. And this notebook actually allows the teacher to distribute files, to broadcast information,
Right.
to communicate with all students or one student or any student that the teacher decides to choose. Then it allows teachers to actually use the concept of one-to-one e-learning. And that concept is this. Imagine I have a class of 20 students. Now that's me trying to teach 20 students something different, but at the same time. So how do I do it? What I do is I decide what my lesson is going to be. From whatever text curriculum I deconstructed from, I decide what my lesson is going to be. Say this day I want to talk about hand gesture. I want to teach my students about hand gestures, and that our hands are used for so many different things, and we need to understand and be able to look at a position of a hand, see what the hand's doing, and describe it. So what I do is I look through a magazine and I cut out 20 pictures of 20 different hands. One hand is holding the mobile, the other hand is washing under the water, the other hand is cooking, etc. Or man, woman, whatever, just hands. And I distribute those 20 hands to 20 different students. And I give them the same assignment though. But they all have different hands doing different things. The assignment is to tell me, describe in your own words, what the hands that you have, what is it doing, and who does the hands belong to? Okay? So they all get their assignment, and as soon as they get their picture of their hands, they're all typing and writing a description of what their hands are doing and whose hands they are. Now, this is one-to-one learning because each child, even though the assignment is the same, the child is working at their very own pace. Okay? And when the child has finished the assignment, the child then sends the assignment to me. I correct it and distribute the assignment to the child.
What about using the internet or using an encyclopedia or something like this to gain more information on the subject? Like to make that question a bit clearer, let's say you're talking about hands, okay? And a person would want to know more about maybe the subject that the hand or whatever the hand is doing, for example. Or if we want to, let's use the hand, take the hand example away because it may be a bad example. But let's just say they're studying something about a historical event. And of course the textbook is going to give them a certain amount of information. But the student may be interested in elements of the story so that they can go to a place, it could be the internet, encyclopedia, whatever, and learn more and more about the subject of that lesson. Is that considered one-to-one e-learning as well, or that's a separate issue?
No, it is. It's considered one-to-one e-learning. All of this is about preparation. Teachers can create digital links for students. And they can also, in a one-to-one e-learning environment, there's something that is called parent care. And what parent care does, it blocks all sites except for the site that the teacher designate for students to log on to the internet. So the teacher could block every site on the entire internet except one and say, okay, fine, you can do your research, you can access the internet and do your research. And no matter what students do, they will only be able to go to this one site for their research.
So some people might argue that you're limiting the curiosity of a child, and we're not talking about keeping them away from bad websites, but we're saying I want to know about if we're studying about let's say we're studying about Omar bin Khattab, for example. Okay. And you're limiting me to one website, one resource to get the information. But let's say the story talks about another person, another Sahaba, for example, and I want to know more about this person, so that I go to here, and then that story leads me somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else, where I'm just gaining more and more information. Would you say that that's limiting them, or is
it depends on preparation again. It depends on how the teacher prepares for this lesson. Okay, the teacher feels that there are other websites, then the teacher could link websites together. Again, the teacher could supply students with digital links to several websites, or limited them to one. In terms of resources and the availability of knowledge, not just one-to-one technology, but technology in general has just opened up the field to where there's really, I hate to use the word, say like nothing sacred, but everything's available.
Okay, we're about to wrap this show up. This show went rather fast, but I'm sure there are people out here that want to know how they can contact you, or it maybe invite you out to a school or something like that to discuss these issues. How can they get in contact with you?
Well, they could go to the website, www.smartcollabor.com. Or they can send me an email, fard@smartcollabor.com.
Okay, great. Okay. Today we really have a very short, limited time on our show, Tech Talk. And some of these issues are very, very interesting, and we could talk for hours and hours. And this is one of the reasons that I'm bringing Mr. Fard back for another episode to discuss another issue related to technology. He's very busy, and I had to get him while I could. So that's why we'll continue on next week in our discussion when we talk about the Smart Collaborative, which is a project that Mr. Fard actually started and that he's actively involved in. Also, if you want to send us an email or you want us to interact with us, please drop us a line at techtalk@huda.tv. And then also you can catch us online at huda.tv/techtalk. And I'd like to mention here that there has been some issue regarding the website and not being able to find the website, but try again, because it's definitely a work in progress. So with that being said, I'd like to thank Mr. Fardan for giving us his time today. And I'd like to say to you, thank you for watching. And please tune in for next week's Tech Talk. And inshallah ta'ala, we'll continue our conversation then, inshallah ta'ala. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.